Welcome to volume number 6, everyone. Rapid fire trivia and dumb gameplay stuff ahead for those who don't know how this works. Spoiler warning like always, even if this is more of a gimmick at this point than a legitimate warning. Alright, let's get real. In Fortuna, there are a handful of elevators that can be used to access various areas. They're not super practical, but at least it gives us a logical way for Ticker to be up here. The Opera multi-shot buff from Octavia's Metronome boosts scanner speed. You can scan Wukong's Celestial Twin, despite it having no codex entry. You can also scan Necros' Shadows of the Dead. In the codex, conservation animals have an alignment of either predator or prey, except for the Bolarola, which is listed as neutral, whatever that means. Vauban's Flechette Orb counts towards accuracy accolades and is treated as if it never misses, allowing your accuracy percentage to get ridiculously high. On Lua, you can find these yellow rifts that give you various buffs if you wall latch them for a second or two. I'll show on screen now what each buff is and what it does. The Tether Grenade's augment for the Penta can attach itself to Arctic Eximus bubbles, which can pull them around and even cause them to just fly straight up. This only works if their overguard has been removed though. Speaking of the Penta, the Napalm Grenade's augment damages enemies regardless of the rift status of either the enemies or Limbo himself. If an NPC spoke during Protea's Temporal Anchor, then their dialogue will be sped up and reversed when time gets rewound at the end.
Excellent work. We'll interrogate the captive back at base. Your part is done here, Tenno.
If you have friendly fire enabled in the Orbiter Captura scene, your Sentinel will attack the Fashion in your personal quarters. I would wager to guess that this also works in the Vista Suite and the Dorma Zone, but I don't have that unlocked yet. As Limbo, you can hold down your 1 to evict all enemies currently in the Rift. When mining, you can enter your operator to skip the resource splash screen, letting you mine other ores faster. If you have a Hound equipped and then you preview any MOA emotive modules, this abomination will appear on your screen. Abilities that increase loot drops, such as Desecrate and Pilfering Strangledome, can also make enemies drop more life support in survival missions or more power cells in excavation missions. If a Spectre is using a weapon that reloads shots one by one, like the Strunner Tsar, they will only need to reload one shot before having their magazine completely refilled. Tusk Seeker drones actually have different colored flares depending on the kind of reinforcements they're spawning. Red flares summon a Furbolg, pink flares summon a Bulkor, purple summons drop pods, blue summons a Tusk Dargon, and green summons the elusive Tusk Ogma, which will perform bombing runs and fire missiles at players. Nyx's Absorb ability makes her Sentinel invincible, but not any beast companions she has equipped. Lockpins can be used to tag useful rooms in Deimos Isolation Vaults, as said lockpin will only appear on the map if the room has spawned. You'll have to do this once per Isolation Vault tier, but it can be exceptionally helpful if you're grinding out the Jugulus Rex's drops. If you get out of bounds in the Drifter's Camp Captura scene, you can find this leftover development room. During the New War quest, the Drifter can play the Shazin, however in normal gameplay, the emote is grayed out when using them. Nadaruk has no headshot multiplier on charged or perfect shots, meaning that headshots deal no additional damage. The quick shot still does have a headshot multiplier though. During Alad V's boss fight, you can actually CC Zanuka and prevent her from reviving Alad when he's downed, which will lead to Alad bleeding out and you completing the fight without ever killing Zanuka. When playing Mirage, you can maintain a buff from Eclipse by becoming invisible, meaning that you won't lose said buff if you go from a dark to a light place or vice versa. This is apparently called snapshotting and applies to several mechanics, like the relic buff prolonging I mentioned in the last episode. Marilena can sit on top of Frost's snow globe. If you hit 0% armor integrity in the Infested Salvage mission type, the Infested will actually start speaking to you. Within Warframe there exists a promotional skin called the Nvidia Brayton, which was never released for multiple reasons. Despite this, the skin is actually still chat linkable, on PC at least. Ash can use the Fatal Teleport augment on infested hives, which shrinks them down and rotates them, I guess? Because the Jugulus Rex has innate health regen, it can stay alive autonomously when revived as a shadow by Necros. The Brief Respite Aura mod can affect operators, even if it's equipped on your own Warframe. Thralls and Hounds can't normally trigger Parazon finisher mods, but can if the animation gets bugged by the enemy being in a weird spot or something. Important to note here though, that you're normally invincible during a regular Parazon finisher, but you aren't if the animation gets goofed up. Branching off of this, Marilena can be used to skip the finisher animation on Thralls entirely. Presumably Hounds too, but I'm not generating a sister and a lich. I don't care enough about my content for that shit. Volt Speed can be used to speed up the ethereal kids on the Zariman. The drums on stage in the Zariman Auditorium Room make noise when you attack them. Several weapons actually have special reload animations when used with a glaive, separate from the normal ones. The Piranha and Euphona Prime share one, wherein the gun is spun a few extra times during the reload. Ballistica and the Zundi pistol skin have a reload where the magazine is flicked out of the side of the weapon. Kit guns with a magazine on the bottom will drop the magazine straight down with no spinning, and Azima will pop the magazine up before reloading. If you try to spawn a Dargan in Captura, they often just get stuck in the ground. This can normally be fixed by jumping. Resource nodes in the plains actually increase the amount of resources they drop if you play higher level bounties. The speed at which an Incarnate weapon switches forms is actually affected by reload speed modifiers. When fighting the Ethereal Angel, you can actually stack the golden bubbles on top of each other to further boost the damage they give you. Also, standing in these bubbles gives you added heat damage and protects you from the Angel's attacks, for those who don't know. You can also just use Void Strike to skip the orb thing entirely, but that's neither here nor there. As Gyre, you can press 1 while an Arc Sphere is in flight to immediately detonate it. Okay, this one is less of a gameplay thing and more of just a fun detail. For a long time now, Mag has had an alt helm called the Mag Gauss helmet. When Gauss was revealed, people joked about the helmet's name, and as such, DE named Gauss's alt helm the Gauss Mag helmet. Abilities that absorb damage after being cast, like Iron Skin and Warding Halo, can actually absorb the damage from Prophet Taker and Exploiter's Nuke, adding it to their health. These attacks can also be survived via shield gating, which I find kinda funny. You can interrupt a Void Sling mid-flight by firing your amp, allowing you to quickly correct yourself if you overshoot something. You can also initiate a Void Sling by holding space while already in air. If you're quick enough, you can actually lock yourself out of your own Dorma Zone, which requires a reload to get back in. Blueprint made a fun comic series based on this concept, so I'll link their Twitter below if you want to check it out. In the Dorma Zone, if you approach this door as the Drifter, then a pulsing monochromatic effect will emanate from the door, along with a set of dual Nakanas and music from the Duviri Paradox reveal trailer. Eximus units actually have unique voice lines now. Blueprint just so happened to make a video about this, so I'll leave that in the description too if you're interested. The Phoenix Talons passive from Matarai affects fishing spears, which can allow you to catch certain fish with the wrong spear type in the plains. The Turbulence augment on Zephyr also speeds up fishing spears. The Vengeful Impact ephemera actually changes to adopt the look of Iron Skin when used on Rhino. If you have a combo counter of 2 times or more, the Citadella Prime Sayandana will possess some cool effects. By the way, if you have a weapon that starts with a 2 times combo count, either passively like Fragor or using the Corrupt Charge mod, then combo counter based effects will activate when in the arsenal. Vauban's Tesla Nervos are affected by Wisp's reservoir buffs. When Zeneric's Inner Might passive is off cooldown, this little orb will start orbiting your Warframe, adopting the frame's energy color. The portrait of your parents in the Dorm Zone actually adopts some of your operator's suit colors. The colors in question are the primary suit color, secondary suit color, and hair color. In the main tent at the Hillside Ruins base on the plains, you can interact with this console to cause various pistons to pound the ground before highlighting an area on the center map. One of the explosive drones on the ceilings will then be dispatched to the highlighted area, detonating and revealing some resources as well as a sentient bone. This can be done multiple times, revealing a total of 3 dig sites. You can also destroy the explosive drones both in flight and while they're on the ceiling, so be careful. If viewing the Zariman in the star chart, you can use this ship to determine at a glance if the Corpus or Grineer are active. Weird thing is, these ships will still show up in the Empyrean map, despite the Zariman not being there. Nightwatch Grineer enemies have no Eximus units. You can skip a lot of dialogue by quickly opening and closing Nightwave in the pause menu. This namely works on bounty intro dialogue and the dialogue before a Void Angel fight, but applies to almost all dialogue and is actually a speedrunning strat referred to as Nora skip. If you deploy a restore pad on a domestic drone while on top of it, then the drone will actually drag around the pad too. This works for the domestic drone's cousins as well. The orb from Alternox's Altfire sticks to geometry, and will get moved around if the geometry it stuck to moves. This is easiest to demonstrate with a door. As an operator, you can use Void Mode to negate fall damage. The Tonkor wielded by Elite Shield Lancers and Nightwatch Reavers has an arming distance mechanic, meaning that if you're close enough to them, their grenades won't actually explode. Alright, that's all for today's episode. Like and sub if you want, dislike if you want to, even though nobody's gonna see that shit. Thank you so much to everyone who posted suggestions on the last video, and make sure to leave your suggestions in the comments below. I've also got a Discord that you can join using the link in the description, as well as a playlist for this series that's in the description too. I also stream every Sunday at 5:30 PM CST, so stop by if you want. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the comments section of my favorite TF2 YouTuber, Jivy.
Minion